I am in it. I am living the C-suite dream, I'll call it. I thought it was the dream. I remember one Valentine's Day. It was a Sunday night. Okay. It wasn't a work day. It was a Sunday evening. And I was on a call with three other men, all of whom were divorced. And we were going through a board presentation. And I was like, and this is why none of you have marriages, because this is what we're doing right now on Valentine's Day instead of spending time with our significant other. And I just remember being so frustrated and constantly feeling like this isn't what I signed up for.
Welcome to She's Healthy, a podcast for ambitious women on their journey to become the healthiest version of themselves. I'm your host, Lori Aikman.
Today on the podcast, we have Karin Freeland. Karin is a former corporate workaholic turned life coach. She focuses on helping high-achieving women ditch the golden handcuffs, transform their lives one habit at a time, and achieve their career goals by using her signature process, the EDIT methodology. She is the award-winning author of Grab Life by the Dreams, a motivational self-help book that helps women get unstuck and live their true purpose. She also hosts the podcast Rock Your Reinvention. Karin is active in the community and enjoys volunteering for the Junior League of Greenville and at her church. She resides in Greenville, South Carolina with her husband and teenage sons.
Yes.
Hi,
so
Karin.
send help. No, I'm just kidding. Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes. Thanks for being here. That's too funny. I was just thinking, I'm a stage behind you. Well, I'm a couple stages behind you. We're in like the baby to 3, preschool age. So like, I'll be asking you advice when we get to the teenager stage.
Definitely. I don't know if I can help. Just kidding. They're great. I actually really love this stage. I loved pretty much everything after like 6, 7. It just got so much easier because mom doesn't have to do everything. You don't have to tie their shoes for them. I don't have to brush their teeth, all the things. So now I just get to have fun being a parent, which is really nice.
That's awesome. What are the ages?
13 and 14.
13. Yes.
So officially teenagers.
Oh my goodness. We were talking to some friends. Oh goodness. Yes. We have a 2-year-old girl who has a lot of attitude.
Oh, you're ready because
that's what my husband's like. God, what is teenager years gonna look like?
Yes. But it's a joy. And I honestly am so thankful for how much I get to spend with them now because I didn't always have that, hence the former workaholic, right?
Yeah. Well, that's a great transition. So you tell us that story of you were corporate workaholic and then that transition to life coach. What was that like?
Okay, so the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's probably
I know, right? So 2016, I'm kind of at the height in my career. I have been offered a chief of staff position to the president of a $13 billion tech company. And I am in it. I am living the C-suite dream, I'll call it. I thought it was the dream. But I really quickly realized once I got in there, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This is horrible. I don't want to be like these people. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to work 24/7. And it was just I'd always been a hard worker. I'd always kind of worn my workaholism like a badge of honor, but like this was next level. I mean, I remember one Valentine's Day. It was a Sunday night. Okay. It wasn't a work day. It was a Sunday evening. And I was on a call with 3 other men, all of whom were divorced. And we were going through a board presentation. And I was like, and this is why none of you have marriages, because this is what we're doing right now on Valentine's Day instead of spending time with our significant other. And I just remember being so frustrated and constantly feeling like this isn't what I signed up for.
right.
But, it's really hard when you're the breadwinner to walk away from a 6-figure salary and just tell your family, like, I'm going to quit and I don't know what I'm going to do because I had no other real goals or aspirations. I didn't have any dreams that I could rattle off to you. So I felt really stuck and I did what most people do. It just get a different job, right? Try to get promoted, try to go to another company. And so I eventually transitioned over to energy when the director position I was promised didn't appear. And I was
Mm.
like, oh, right. Everybody else who was chief of staff got a director role except for me, because what's the difference? I'm a female. So
Mm.
I was like, clearly you don't value me as much as I've been valuing this organization. It's time for me to go. So I went to
Mhm.
another company and I thought things would be different. But what I
Yeah.
very quickly realized when I got there was, no, this is more of the same. And it's not the companies that I'm working for. It's me. I don't belong here. I don't fit.
Mm.
But again, I was coming up empty. How do I make a change? What would I do if I weren't
Mhm.
doing this? And so it wasn't until 2019 when we had 2 deaths in the matter of 4 months in my family.
Mhm.
And that was the catalyst.
Mhm.
And it sent me deeper before it sent me back out. I ended up buying a Benz because I was like, well, if I'm just going to die anyway, I might as well enjoy my money. And why am I saving it all up? I'm just going to go buy a sports car. I guess that beats the alternative of getting like having an affair or something. So I
Yeah.
buy the sports car, and you know, of course, my husband's like, this is going to make you happy. And I'm like, you don't know that. And sure enough, it didn't make me happy. I mean, the purses, the Ferragamo shoes, none of that was making me happy. Why was a car going to make me happy? Um, and so it wasn't until I really forced myself to do some soul searching and I started looking at the inconvenient truths that I began to acknowledge that corporate was not for me. And I had a book in me. I had what I would come to find out later as I went on this exploration, a desire to coach other women and to give them the tools and
Mm.
the strategies that I found helpful to reinvent my life and let them do the same thing in whatever capacity they wanted to reinvent into. And so once I started writing my first book and I started getting really excited about life again, it was like I had a new lease and I was like, okay, this is it. This is the path I am being called to. And I need to just trust myself and go for it.
Wow. 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 What a story, man. I mean, and I mean, on the outside, yes, I'm just looking at that. I'm sure so many people like just, yeah, get to that place, get to the corner office, be able to buy all the things, right? I think in so many, not even just with that, in so many areas of life, we think if we can get to that place where we can have all the things, we'll be
Yes.
happy,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. I
But it's not.
really thought that was it, you know, and that's what seemingly made everybody else happy, right? Oh, I have 2 homes. Oh, I have a boat. Oh, I have this and that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll be happy when I get that. And then you
Mhm.
get it and you're like, no, this is so empty.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, amazing for you to like trust your gut and to, just really listen and realize like that was, I mean, I'm just trying to think there's probably people that have like continued for decades, like in
Yes.
that just because you think, well, there's nothing else, this is
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I have a client recently who I finally got her to retire at 67. I was like, come on, like, this is your time. You should be enjoying life and doing something that brings you fulfillment, not navigating a toxic workplace. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for people to let go because even though the environment that you're in doesn't fulfill you, it's a known environment. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that feels more comfortable than the scary change that you have to
Mm-hmm.
make to go out on your own or to start a consultancy or to go to the
Yes.
nonprofit world or whatever else might be calling to you. But
Mm.
it's so crazy because I work with so many talented women and I'm like, look how many times you've been promoted. Look
Yeah.
how many other people believe in you and are betting on you and keep giving you more and more responsibility. And you don't even see it. You don't even bet on yourself. That's what we
Yeah.
got to change, right? We got to change that confidence in women to
Mm-hmm.
see what everybody else is seeing in them so that they can go out and really make the path that they want. And for
Mm-hmm.
some, let me just be clear, for some people, it really might be that's corner office. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
might be in an industry that you absolutely love and are passionate about. I
Mm-hmm.
could not care less about cloud adoption. I remember
Yeah.
sitting in meetings at tech companies going, are we all really this serious about this? Do y'all actually care how many more people we adopt to the cloud? Because I don't. And I'm just wondering if you're faking this as much as me. Like,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
so detached.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like a robot. I just kept
Yeah.
performing. Give me the next hurdle. Give me the next hurdle. I'll show you I can do it.
Mhm.
And trying to prove I don't know what to who.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious of just Because I think I see that, even I have a healthcare background, that's what I do. Actually, I'm giving a talk to I'm a nurse practitioner by trade, and I'm doing a talk for other nurse practitioners and PAs. We're called mid-level providers, APPs, tomorrow on burnout.
Yes.
And I've just been thinking a lot about how, even just reflecting back on myself, right? I've been in toxic work environments myself with surgeons that throwed instruments across, OR rooms and,
Yeah.
crap like that, getting called, in the middle of the night. We have this, we need to do this surgery tomorrow because, it's really not. I worked in the ICU. I'm like, this is more about money than it is about somebody's actual life.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of this. But I'm like, kind of realized like there's this, it's almost like watching like somebody that's in a toxic relationship, like an abusive relationship maybe.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's easier to stay sometimes with that known toxicity than it is to go somewhere else and you don't know where things. It's like the devil, rather have the devil than the devil you
Yes.
don't. Right.
Exactly.
And like, we can look at that and go, well, I'm not, like, I don't know, maybe that's easier to see for some people and go like, well, they're in an abusive, why doesn't she just leave that abusive relationship? Well, why don't you just leave your toxic, it's just a different type of
Yes.
toxicity that you're in. And I can look back and see in myself where, and I would be in these work settings where I'm like, okay, be the best I can, but I just suck the life out of you, waking up with anxiety in the middle of the night and just going, what am I doing here? Why have I lasted this many years in this role? Like, why don't I just leave?
And I
What
love that you brought up the health piece too, because I think for me, that was a big red flag. That was what I think finally really got my attention, was my health.
mm-hmm.
So I was a grinder and I was
Yeah.
cracking my teeth at night because I was
Uh,
grinding them so hard. So I
yes.
had to get one of those plastic inserts, which is not
Yeah.
the sexiest thing if you've ever
Yeah.
seen one of those. But I had to wear that every night because otherwise I would grind. And then I got diagnosed with silent acid reflux.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so bad, I could barely swallow without wanting to cry. Like, it felt like razor blades in my throat.
Ugh.
Food felt like it was getting stuck, and it wasn't, but it was
Mm.
just so inflamed and irritated that it felt like stuff was there. So I had numerous events where I thought I was choking or I was going to die. I mean, it's
Mhm.
absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And then when I got diagnosed with it and they started telling me all the modifications I needed to make, my diet was too acidic. I'm like, well, yeah, I basically live on coffee and wine. I mean,
Yeah.
everything I put in my body is like
It's
turning it into
acidic.
battery, like a battery acid, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, no wonder I'm so sick. And as I
Mhm.
started to make this transition and get out of the corporate environment, it was like, so my symptoms, I still have some. I'm not cured 100%. I probably never
Mhm.
will be, but it is massive improvement night and day from where it
Right.
used to be. So it's just like, and again, like, why? Why am I doing this to my body? I have
Yeah.
one life and I am not replaceable to my kids, right?
Yeah.
At work, you could find yourself
Yes.
another marketing director or whatever, but my kids cannot find another mom and my husband cannot find another wife. And that
Yeah.
is just something I was no longer willing to gamble with.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good. Well, you and I were chatting before we hit record. I think that's like kind of been a just a motivating factor too. I think
Yeah.
just being a mother too
Yeah.
of going, okay, well, how do I want work to look for me?
Mhm.
Because as I said before we started, we hit record. If when I'm saying yes to whatever I'm doing for work, that time I'm saying no to my kids. So that time I better love what I'm doing, feel called to doing it, be getting paid, charging for my time, not giving away my time for free
Yeah.
because that's time I'm taking away from being present with my kids. Yeah.
Totally.
My husband too.
Yes. I know,
Of course.
right? Sometimes we forget about him, but yes,
Uh,
too.
well, we're in the season, yes, where they're like completely dependent on us,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets
So tell
easier.
me, yes, thank you. Yeah. We honestly, even though it is, hard at times because I mean, we have a baby that we have to feed and, we have to do everything for him. But the 3.5-year-old is more independent, a little more independent, relatively, but it's, we're still enjoying the season too.
Yeah, good.
Tell me about like the life coach piece, so you ended up leaving.
Yep.
Did your husband like have a job, and what did that even just leaving look like? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So we had a lot of conversations, and honestly, he was so supportive. I mean, he
Yeah.
saw how miserable I was. He wanted me to be a more present mom. I think I talk about it in my book, Grab Life by the Dreams. One time my son was really sick, and I saw it as an inconvenience that I had to go pick him up from school. And I called the doctor. I made an appointment, and I was like, my husband will bring him later. I put him in bed with like a fan on or something because he was sweating. And I was like, okay, I got to go back to work. And I'm working at the kitchen table, and my husband comes in and goes to check on him. And he came out like screaming, and he was like, Karin, he has 103 fever in there right now. And he's like, if you cared about your family half as much as your work. And I was like, oh, like, and he was right. I mean, he had every right to say what he said, because I wasn't caring about my family as much.
Yeah.
And so that really, again, a lot of perspective shifts. It was almost like death by 1,000 cuts. You know what I mean? Like I needed to have all of these different experiences finally for it to build to a point where I was like, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't the life that I envisioned. So when I talked to him about leaving, he was like, please, yes, do it.
Like,
Anything
yes,
is
I've been
better
waiting
than
for
this.
this.
Yes, I want my wife back, like this isn't who I married. I mean, yes, you were always driven and you were always out doing your acting and stuff. And that's originally what I was pursuing. And it was great. He's like, but you're never around. So you're traveling all the time. Like, we just want you here. So he was like, go do it. We'll figure it out. And then through that process, it was also COVID. So he ended up getting furloughed. He was an electrician. So he had a job that was pretty stable, but it really in New Jersey was not enough for a family of 4 to live on with 2 kids playing hockey and sports and all the other things,
Yeah.
So we had a sit down and we're just like, what do we want this life to look like? Neither of us are tied to this area. We don't have to stay here. Where do we want to go? And so we decided to make a home in South Carolina and move our family and create a better existence that would align with our values and give us the lifestyle that we really wanted, which was far less pressure. And we could own our home. We could sell our house in New Jersey, buy cash here. So I don't have a mortgage payment. And
amazing.
yeah. And a lot of people, they'll hear these things and be like, well, that's easy for you because you don't have a mortgage. Well, now you do, but it's like, but I had to choose that, right? I had to intentionally set things up so that this could be my reality. Right. Like it wasn't like I just got lucky.
It just happened.
Right. And we had managed our money very well, right? While everybody else was out buying yachts and living paycheck to paycheck, even though they were making $600,000 a year, we were not doing that. We were putting away 20%. We were living in paying off our credit cards every month. We didn't have debt, right? So there is a way to do it, but it has to be intentional. You have to think about, what is the life I actually want to design? How do I get a couple steps closer to that this week, this month, this year, so that you're moving in that right direction?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. So you left, and then did the life, you kind of went into life coaching and stuff from there.
So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to write this book. And so I was writing my first book, which is more of a memoir and a really fun story, but just totally different from anything else that I'd ever done before. And while I was doing that, I was like, okay, I realized how much my life was changing. And I'm like, how do I share what I'm doing with others? I'm like, I'm really passionate about health and exercise. Maybe I should be a health coach. And then I started talking to people and they were like, well, what about life coaching? Have you thought about that? Or career coaching? And I was like, oh, I think life coaching might be it, because I can hit all the pieces. I can hit the health. I can hit the finances, the career piece, the, spiritual beliefs. Like, how do I bring the whole woman into unison with herself, right? And into harmony, so that she's looking at everything in her life and not just work or just relationships or whatever. And we can really put it all together. So I thought, oh, well, this could be interesting. Let me just take a certification, see if I enjoy it. And that was it. I was hooked, and I just started taking clients, and it's been going for 4 years strong now.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So, and then who are the women that you work with now? Or what is that? Somebody's going, yes, I'm dying in corporate and I don't know what
Mhm.
to do. Like who, what does that look like?
Absolutely. So I do work with a lot of women in tech, but really it's a woman just because that's who my network is, but
Mhm,
any woman who's in corporate and feeling stuck and knows she wants to make a change, but maybe doesn't know how to.
mhm,
That could look like a promotion or changing jobs, changing industries and needing the confidence, needing that career guidance. Or it could look like doing what I did and leaving and writing a book or
mhm,
starting a business or a consultancy of your own and
mhm,
figuring out how to put all those pieces in place. And one of the things that I love to help people with from that aspect is transitioning out of corporate and making that exit
mhm.
plan because it's so much more than just deciding to go start a business, right? It's,
Yeah.
setting yourself up financially and emotionally and setting
Mhm.
expectations with family and friends and other people around
Yeah.
you because it is a very big move and a very big identity shift for yourself. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of inner work that needs to happen also with ego and things like that to get ready and prepared for this
Yeah.
move.
Oh, I can imagine. Because I can imagine if you didn't do that work and you're going, okay, I should leave. And then you leave and then you go, excuse me, like, what the fuck do I do now? Like, who am I? What am I?
Right.
Like if
Yes.
you don't have that next step set up and you're just leaving and as you spoke to, there's so much identity then wrapped up in that former
Yeah.
position, then what do
I
you do?
mean, my affirmation for like the first year after I left corporate was I am not my paycheck. I am not my paycheck. And I just
Yeah.
had to drill that in over and over. And I see it with my clients all the time. They're like, well, maybe I should just go get a part time. And I'm like, you've already done the math. You already met with your financial planner. You don't need to get a job. You are fine. But it is this mentality of like, we are
Mhm.
what we bring in. And if we're not bringing in a huge paycheck, when something's wrong with us. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I bring in what I need. That's what I bring in every month. I
Yeah.
bring in exactly what I need,
Mhm.
nothing more and nothing less. And
Mhm.
that's fine with me. That's perfect for our family.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're doing work that fulfills you and you're present
Yep.
with your family. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Do you think some of it is that, and you might have mentioned this, kind of redefining success, right?
Yes,
And what?
totally.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I mean, we always think that success is the things, the big house, the fancy
Mhm.
title. Oh, that's another one. Women are always think, especially in the corporate space, like, what's
Yeah.
my title? I don't know if it's like that in healthcare.
Yeah. Well, I think there is with healthcare people, it's like always chasing like the next certification or degree. I
Oh,
see that a
yeah.
lot. Just even in my training, in other health professionals that want to branch out and do their own thing, they kind of get stuck in this like, well, I need this other certification and I need other
Right.
and like yeah, yeah. They're
Yeah.
just kind of I think it kind of keeps them from doing the actual work. They just keep getting more education, more education, more education. Yeah, and I have this long CV, but yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So for me now, success is getting to have a relaxed morning, wake up, work out, water the plants, walk my dog, take the kids to school, just like there's no chaos, there's no stress.
Yeah.
I get to go to Bible study once a week on Tuesday
Uh-huh.
mornings for 90 minutes. That's
Uh-huh.
just like baked into my calendar. That's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Like, I don't need to cram that with work. This is just one of the things that I love to do to feed my soul. And then it's having, a handful of clients at a time. I don't take more than 10 to 12 at any one given time because I want to
Yeah.
be able to give them white glove service, be accessible to them for
Mhm.
everything that they need as they're going through these big transformations. So
Yeah.
I always laugh when people will reach out to me like, do you want 20 new leads a week?
Oh,
And I
I
was
know,
like,
I know.
no,
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 I
I
don't.
don't. I'm like, I couldn't handle 20 new leads a week. There's nowhere for them to go into my calendar. Oh, we'll just create group programs and then you can scale. And I'm like, okay, I don't need to scale. I have
Yeah.
what I need and my business is doing what I need it to do. So
Yeah.
even as an entrepreneur, I've had to redefine success because
Yeah.
people out there that just want to tell you to go be a 7 and 8 figure entrepreneur. And I'm
Mhm.
not going to resist that. If that's what God has in store for me, it will happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that. It's just not my goal. My
Yeah.
goal is to serve women in the highest capacity that I can and help
Mhm.
them achieve their goals, whatever those happen to be, and
Sure.
be there for my family. That
Yeah.
those are my goals.
Yes. Yes. And so great that yeah, it's like you could do the same thing now as an entrepreneur that you did in corporate. You could
Yeah,
just burn out again without all the work that you've done. Yeah.
exactly.
Do you find, so you kind of talked about your health journey. So and just, I work with women who have been like more with the physical side of things where they're
Mhm.
going, sometimes they don't know. I guess I think of this one client, she was a restaurant owner. And so very, yeah, late nights. She owned multiple restaurants, so a lot of hours, late nights, bad lifestyle, just
Yeah.
and finally she sold her restaurants. She was moving into more, she was going into like breathwork coaching and stuff. And she had said like what I didn't realize was just because I was out of that environment, like my body wasn't all of a sudden like back to normal. Do and I think we don't realize like the toll that it takes on us long term
Yes.
physically.
Mhm.
What do you see, in your clients as far as health struggles or
Yeah.
like
Well,
that?
certainly. I mean, and a lot of the women that I work with, right, they're struggling with weight
Mhm.
because we stress eat.
Yeah.
And then we just put all the junk in our body and a lot with the alcohol, right? It
Mhm.
is a coping mechanism. And so a lot of
Yes.
us are numbing the pain, numbing the frustration, numbing the anger that we feel because we haven't made a move, right? We might be beating ourselves up a little bit. And so we just continue to consume, and try to numb the pain,
Mhm.
which has not worked for me. So I doubt it's going to work for you. So the
Yeah.
sooner we realize that these are just toxic self-sabotaging behaviors, the sooner we can heal. And
Yeah.
it's not easy. I
Mhm.
mean, giving up alcohol is one of the hardest things I've seen myself and my clients have to go through.
Mhm.
But it is life changing. And,
Yeah.
you just, I think your body does get back into it so much quicker when you
Mhm.
do start to make some of those changes,
Mhm.
because that's what's holding you back, right?
Yeah.
That's what's keeping you stuck and keeping your health in the garbage, is
Mhm.
all the stuff that we're putting in our bodies, from the stress eating to the alcohol.
Yeah.
So those are probably the two biggest things that I see from a health
Mhm.
perspective. And
Yeah. And I think too, like the food, can be, okay, you're, stress eating, but I think there can be a cultural, like I know there's a woman I'm connected with on LinkedIn, and she talks a lot about, women that are in corporate and like sober curious and things like that. And just, she kind of talks about, yeah, how she would totally was numbing, like in a lot of her social posts. But I think it's hard too, because it's very, like if you're not drinking, right? People are like, why just have a drink? It's fine. Just like
right.
if you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm good, I don't want anything to eat. People are like, oh, okay. I don't know. My grandmother I was always like, here, eat more. And I'm like, I'm an adult. If
Mhm.
I'm hungry, I will put more on my plate.
Totally.
But but I think sometimes culturally with alcohol, there can be a lot more
Mhm.
pressure to like you're not having a drink, like like we push that on people a lot.
So I think yes and no. And here's why
Yeah.
I say both. So
Okay.
I think actually I've been pleasantly surprised by how many times I've been in a setting and no one has even said anything about me not drinking. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
wow. I'm like, and I thought I was going to have one just to be social or something. Like,
Yeah.
I almost put more pressure on myself than other people.
Uh-huh.
Where I do see it is from people who indulge or overindulge. They see it
They
as a judgment on them. And so
ah
they want you to drink so that they don't feel judged. And
yeah.
so I have a couple people in my life who they have really not accepted this because they don't believe that their drinking is a problem. And so
Yeah.
every time I'm around them, they really, really want to see me drink so that they can feel okay about them drinking. And so what I've just had to say is
Mm,
this actually has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them. And they
yeah.
still have those things to work through. And that's okay.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just going to love them and support them anyway and hold
Uh-huh.
firm on my boundaries.
Wow, what a great perspective. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Mhm.
It took me a while to
Yeah.
get there. At first, I was just like, "Why are you trying to make me drink?" And then I was like, it's nothing to do with me."
Yeah. Yeah. How true. How true. Yeah. So now the podcast, so that is
Mhm.
more talking what is your, I'm sorry, I
Sure.
haven't listened to many your episodes, so I need to do that. But are you featuring, is it more coaching? Are you featuring, like, when did that start? Tell me a little, just what people can expect if they come over there and take a listen.
Yeah. So I started my podcast in September of 2023 when the book Grab Life by the Dreams launched.
Yes.
And I wish I had started it sooner, to be totally honest, but it was one of those things. I thought it was going to be a big, heavy lift, and I made all the excuses. And now that I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, I should have totally been doing this sooner. So whatever that goal is that you've been putting off, just go for it, because you'll only just wish you'd started sooner.
Right.
But really, it's geared for women, and it's called Rock Your Reinvention, because that's what I want to help you do. Whatever aspect of your life you're trying to reinvent, mainly career is what we focus on, but occasionally I have episodes on finances or health or, working out, other things like that too. So, I do mostly solo episodes where I'm just giving you some tips. Like I just did one on, 5 myths about confidence to bust and overcome. I've got another episode coming out soon, some of the pitfalls that women fall into with career transitions. So different things like that. But I do occasionally have guests on. Started out my show more guest heavy, but have kind of transitioned in the recent months. But yeah, I love highlighting other women who have made some sort of transition and taken a leap of faith. Because I think it's important to hear that other people are doing it, right? It's not just me. It's not just you. It's right. There's so many women out there. And they're not the, Sheryl Sandbergs and stuff of the world, right? These women who are from our vantage point, they've made it, right? Like they're doing all the big things. Like I just want to find regular, normal women like you and me who are, getting by. We're mompreneurs, maybe we're solopreneurs, maybe we have a small team. We're not necessarily doing big things in the view of the world, but like we're still having an amazing impact, and we're designing a purpose-driven life. And I want to give other women the permission to do that and the blueprint to do that.
Yes. Well, and I think, if they think they have to, well, if I leave corporate in this thing, I have to go create like kind of the heavy lift, right? Well, it's gotta be this huge thing, and I have to create a large company and have $1 billion, like they might have stories like that in their head that keep them safe and keep them stuck and keep them from making that transition of thinking it has to be something that it's not.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be, I guess.
Yeah. It can just be enough. Like maybe that's like my big motto. I feel like so often is like, it's enough. It's good enough. It's, and that's okay. We can live in a world where things are just good enough for us.
Yeah. I love that. And your family, like, right? You're a thing.
Exactly.
So if somebody's listening and wants to check, so definitely check out the podcast, Rock Your Reinvention. And then your book, again, Grab Life by the Dreams. I love that.
It's available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold digitally. So you can pick one of those up. And it's also in ebook and audiobook. So if you love podcasting and you love my voice, then you're going to want to listen to it for 7 hours. That's straight.
There you go. I've got to say, I used to read, paper books, but just being a mom of small children now, it is so much easier for me there's books that like sometimes if it's something medical that I need to study, I have to kind of read it and highlight and like, things like that. But the other like, audiobook is just such the way to go. Cause I can like, when I go for a walk, when I'm driving the kids in the car, maybe not the kids in the car, we have to listen to, toddler tunes radio while we're driving, but
yes. And I did have a workbook created. So there is the official workbook for Grab Life by the Dream. So if you get the audiobook or the ebook, you can still highlight and do all the exercises and all the things in here so that you can really experience that transformation. Because while yes, I want you to download it, listen to the book and all that, that's only going to get you so far, right? If you really want transformation, if you really want to experience a change in your life, you've got to do the work and do the hard reflection and lay out the goals and follow the edit methodology. It's a very simple 4-step process. It's going to walk you through exactly what I did to change my life around. And it's so simple.
Yeah. Awesome.
All there for you. You just got to take advantage of it.
I'm again just thinking of, just my back, because a lot of just some of my friends, colleagues, people I've worked with for years now, right? They kind of hit this point where, like, I have one friend in particular who she, just moved up so she was in clinical and now she's a nurse practitioner, but she's more in a leadership administrative role, and it just even people like that. I think we've seen a ton post 2020 of healthcare workers leaving, the clinical setting because of staffing and all that kind of stuff, different kind of stress. But I mean, I'm sure going through this process could help them work out those things and do the same thing of just making that transition, whatever it looks like.
Yeah.
And what about the career compass?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I'm so glad you brought this up. This is a brand new free resource that I have created, and it is a decision-making framework because I think, like I said, I didn't know initially I wanted to be a life coach, right? There were a lot of different options on my plate. And so for most women, right, we're looking at all these different ideas and then they're all swirling around in our head like loose change. And we're thinking of all the pros and cons and we're talking ourselves out of everything, but we don't really have a framework or criteria to filter these decisions through. So what the career compass is going to do is give you that unique criteria that's custom to you and what's most important to you, and then give you a framework to put down all your options, score them against all the things that you said matter to you, and come out with the perfect decision for you at this given time for this season of life. Taking all the emotion out of it, all the stress, and just putting it down on paper, clear, objective, fact-based information for you to go, yep, this is the decision for me. Now, how do I bring that to fruition? Use the edit methodology, right? So it's so perfectly aligned to really help you make this transition by downloading this. So it's free. Go to karinfreeland.com/career-compass, and you can get your copy today.
Perfect. Oh my gosh. Awesome. That is so wonderful. I mean, I just think you're providing so much resources for people just to be able to do that. Then read your book, go through the workbook. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. So we'll put the links out there, the links for the book, the links for the workbook, the links for the career compass. And definitely go listen to your podcast. How would, I'm sure you probably tell people along the way, but if somebody's like, hey, I just want to work with you, like I need your help, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. Email me, Karin at karinfreeland.com. Yep. And It's Karin with an I, Karin. You can go to my website and book a call through there. It'll put you on my Calendly. So that's fine too. But if you just want to reach out, we could chat over email. We'll get you a call. I'll get you the link and everything. That's probably the quickest and easiest way.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes as well. So awesome.
Thank you.
Well, wonderful, Karin. This is so great. I mean, I just love the resources everything you've created. Like I just said, I mean, it's very generous, I guess I should say. I mean, you can really tell your heart behind it to help women. And two, I've got to say, I thought of this earlier. The first time, we connected, whatever, you and I were in a group, and I remember seeing, the first time I saw you, like, come on a call, you were talking with the coaches about something. And I was like, man, you just have infectious energy. I think you're just, you're, hey, I'm here. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I think you, I don't know, just, I guess I want to give you that compliment of just, I bet it probably looks a little different than it did when you were in corporate,
So different. Yeah. It's like a night and day. But what I really say is I'm the most aligned that I've ever been. I'm the most me that I have been in decades. And so it's just so refreshing that I get to wake up and do this every day. And I guess that's just what keeps me going, and keeps all this energy bubbling out.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Wonderful. Love it. Well, go check it out again. Everything in the show notes, and connect with Karin. So thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome. It was great being here. Good luck, everybody.